Part 1, The Last Transmission. The sky above New Haven burned red. Captain Deho watched from the command center as another section of the colony's outer shield flickered and died. 300,000 people lived on this world. In 6 hours, the Valdris would kill them all. Shield Generator 4 is gone. Bongsu's voice crackled through the radio. The engineer sounded tired. Everyone sounded tired. I can keep 3 and 5 running for maybe another hour. 2 hours if we're lucky. Deho looked at the tactical display. Red dots covered the screen like a disease spreading across healthy tissue. The Valdris swarm had arrived 3 days ago. Their ships had dropped from the sky like falling mountains. Now their warriors crawled through the outer districts, killing everything they found. Do what you can, Deho said. He rubbed his eyes. When was the last time he slept? He couldn't remember. How many shuttles are still loading? 12, someone answered. Deho thought it might have been Lieutenant Sunho. The young man had joined the militia 6 months ago, fresh from university. He looked like he had aged 10 years and 3 days. But Captain, the ships are full. There's nowhere to go. That was the problem. The evacuation shuttles could hold maybe 50,000 people, but even if they filled every ship, where would they go? The nearest human world was 3 weeks away. The Valdris would hunt them down in hours. Deho had sent the distress call 48 hours ago. He had broadcast it on every frequency humans used. He had sent it to Earth, to the Galactic Council, to anyone who might hear. The message was simple. They needed help. They needed it now. No one answered. Earth was fighting wars on 4 different fronts. The United Earth Defense Force had no ships to spare. The Galactic Council worlds were too far away, and besides, humans were new to the galaxy. No one owed them anything. An explosion shook the building. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered but stayed on. Somewhere in the distance, Deho heard screaming. It never stopped anymore. The screaming was like background noise now, constant and terrible. Captain, we need more ammunition at Checkpoint 7, another voice said. Private Minseo. She was 19 years old. The Valdris are pushing hard. We can't hold much longer. I'll send what I can, Deho said. But he knew the truth. They had almost no ammunition left. The militia had been designed to handle riots and small emergencies. They weren't soldiers. They had hunting rifles and civilian gear. The Valdris were creatures from nightmares, 6 feet tall with armor like black metal and claws that could tear through steel. At the hospital, Dr. Minji worked without stopping. Her hands moved automatically now, treating wounds she had never seen in medical school, burns from energy weapons, limbs torn off by Valdris claws, poison from Valdris bites that ate through human flesh like acid. Doctor, we need to evacuate, one of her nurses said. The Valdris are 2 blocks away. I'm not leaving these patients, Minji said. She looked at the beds around her. 40 people lay there, too wounded to move. If she left, they would die. Go if you want. Take anyone who can walk. The nurse hesitated, then nodded. Minji heard footsteps as people rushed for the exits. She didn't blame them. Everyone wanted to live. She wanted to live too. But she had taken an oath. First, do no harm. That meant staying, even when staying meant dying. Back at the command center, Bongsu climbed down from the shield generator. His hands were black with grease and blood. He had cut himself on the exposed wiring but hadn't noticed. Everything hurt now. Individual pains didn't matter anymore. I need to boost the communication array, he told Deho. One more time. One more message. No one's coming, Deho said quietly. He wasn't being cruel. It was just the truth. We're too far out. We're not important enough. Maybe, Bongsu said. But maybe someone hears. Maybe someone cares. He climbed up to the roof where the communication array stood. It was damaged, half melted from a Valdris energy blast. But Bongsu had spent his whole life fixing things. He pulled wires, reconnected circuits, and rerouted power from the dying shield generators. The array hummed to life. Bongsu typed the message with shaking hands. It wasn't fancy. Just coordinates, their situation, and a simple plea. Help us, please, anyone. He hit send. The message burned out across space at faster-than-light speeds, screaming into the darkness between stars. Then the array sparked, smoked, and died. Bongsu had burned out the last of its power. It's done, he said into his radio. Message sent, no one answered. Maybe they were all dead. Maybe Deho had fallen at his post. Maybe the command center had been overrun. Bongsu climbed down from the roof and picked up his rifle. If this was the end, he would face it standing. At Checkpoint 7, Private Minseo fired her last magazine. The rifle clicked empty. She dropped it and drew her knife. Around her, the other defenders did the same. They had 18 people left. They had started with 60. The Valdris came at them in waves, endless and unstoppable. "For New Haven," she whispered. It wasn't much of a battle cry, but it was all she had. The Valdris charged. Their mandibles clicked. Their claws scraped on the concrete. Minseo raised her knife and prepared to die. Then the sky split open. It wasn't like the smooth arrival of human ships. It wasn't like the Valdris emergence either. The sky simply tore apart like someone had ripped through the fabric of space itself. Lightning arced across the clouds. Thunder rolled even though there were no storms. Ships fell through the tear. Dozens of them. They were human ships, but wrong somehow. Damaged, repaired with mismatched metal. Painted in colors that had faded with age and battle. They looked like they had been through hell and barely survived, but they were here. Someone had answered the call. Deho stared at his screen in disbelief. The new ships weren't broadcasting standard identification codes. They weren't Earth Defense Force, they weren't from any colony he recognized. But they were human, and they were attacking the Valdris with a fury that took his breath away. Energy beams lanced down from orbit. Valdris ships exploded in balls of fire. The alien warriors on the ground looked up in confusion as death rained from the sky. In the hospital, Minji heard the explosions change. Instead of getting closer, they were moving away. She ran to the window and looked up. Human ships filled the sky and they were winning. "Who are they?" her remaining nurse whispered. Minji shook her head. She didn't know. She didn't care. They were here. That was enough. On the roof, Bongsu watched the battle unfold above him. He started laughing. He couldn't help it. The message had worked. Someone had heard. Someone had come. The lead ship descended through the atmosphere. It was huge, a dreadnought that bore scars from 1,000 battles. Its hull was patched with metal from different ships. Its weapons were mismatched but devastating. It looked like it should have fallen apart years ago. Instead, it looked unstoppable. A message crackled across all frequencies. The voice was rough, worn down by years of screaming orders over battlefield noise. "New Haven, this is Admiral Young-ho. Hold your positions. We're coming down." Deho grabbed his radio. His hands shook. His voice broke. Who are you?" There was a pause. Then the Admiral answered, and his voice carried the weight of countless wars. "We're the ones they left behind. We're the survivors. And we never stopped answering the call." Part 2. The Ghost's Answer. The dreadnought landed like a falling mountain. Its engines screamed as they fought against gravity. The ground shook. Buildings nearby cracked from the force. But it came down in the main plaza, exactly where it needed to be, crushing a group of Valdris warriors beneath its massive bulk. Deho ran toward the ship. He had to see these people. He had to know who they were. Around him, the militia followed, their faces showing the same desperate hope. The ship's hull was covered in patches and welds. Paint had burned off in places, showing bare metal underneath. Words were painted on the side in faded letters. "Remember the Reach." The cargo ramp dropped. Smoke poured out. Then they came. The soldiers looked wrong. Their armor was mismatched. Pieces from different sets welded together. Some wore helmets, marked with Earth Defense Force symbols from 40 years ago. Others had armor that looked alien, taken from dead enemies and repaired to fit human bodies. Their weapons were just as mixed. Human rifles, alien energy guns, things that looked handmade from scraps. But the way they moved was perfect. They flowed down the ramp in tight formation, weapons ready, eyes scanning for threats. These weren't weekend militia. These were predators. A woman led them. She was tall and thin, her face marked with scars. Her left arm was metal from the elbow down. She wore a flight suit that had been patched so many times the original color was impossible to guess. "I'm Commander Jiwon," she said. Her voice was flat, empty of emotion. "Fighter Wing Commander? Where do you need us?" "Everywhere," Deho said. He felt small next to her, young, useless. "The Valdris are in every district. We have wounded at the hospital. Civilians hiding in the shelters. We don't have enough people to—" "Show me a map," Jiwon cut him off. She wasn't rude. She just didn't have time for long explanations. Deho pulled up his tactical display. Jiwon studied it for 3 seconds. "Hyunwoo, take your team to the hospital. Clear it and hold it. Minsok, sweep the Eastern District, standard pattern. Kill everything that isn't human. Move. The soldiers moved immediately. No questions, no hesitation. They split into groups and disappeared into the ruined streets. Daiho watched them go, amazed at their speed and coordination. "Who are you people?" he asked. Ji-won looked at him. Her eyes were old, too old for her face. "You sent a distress call?" We answered. "That's all you need to know right now." She turned and walked back to her ship. Daiho wanted to follow her, to ask more questions, but an explosion from the north drew his attention. He ran toward it and found something impossible. The Valdris were retreating. He had never seen them retreat. They always pushed forward, always attacked, but now they pulled back, and Daiho saw why. Human fighters streaked through the sky, smaller craft that launched from the big ships in orbit. But these fighters were strange. Their hulls seemed organic in places, covered with something that looked like chitinous armor. Valdris armor. The fighters dove and spun, firing weapons that mixed human and alien technology. Everywhere they passed, Valdris died. The pilots flew like they didn't care about dying, pushing their craft into maneuvers that should have torn the ships apart. At the hospital, Sergeant Hyunwoo kicked down the front door. His team poured in behind him, weapons ready. They found Dr. Minji standing over her patients with a scalpel in her hand. She looked ready to fight the entire Valdris army with that small blade. "You the doctor?" Hyunwoo asked. His face was hidden behind a scarred helmet. Minji could only see his eyes through the visor. They were hard and cold. "Yes," she said. "Are you here to help?" "That's the plan." Hyunwoo looked around the room, counting patients and exits. "How many can't walk?" 40, Minji said. "Then we carry them." Hyunwoo turned to his soldiers. "Get stretchers. We move in 5 minutes. Set charges on the lower levels. If the Valdris come back, we bring the building down on them." His team moved with practiced efficiency. They found stretchers, rigged explosives, and prepared the patients for transport. Minji watched in amazement. These soldiers had done this before. Many times. "Where are you taking us?" she asked. "Dreadnought," Hyunwoo said. He was checking his rifle, making sure every part worked. "Admiral's ship. Safer there." "Who is your admiral? Where did you come from?" Hyunwoo paused. He looked at her through his helmet. "You really want to know?" "Yes." "The Reach Wars," he said quietly. 40 years ago, humanity tried to claim territory in the frontier. We sent 1 million soldiers. The galaxy didn't like that. Pushed back hard. Earth decided it was too expensive, too far away. They pulled support and left us to die. Minji stared at him. "But that was 40 years ago. Those soldiers would all be dead?" Hyunwoo finished. "Yeah, most are. We're what's left. The survivors. We kept fighting because stopping meant dying. Been at war ever since." He turned away and started helping with the patients. Minji stood frozen. 40 years. These people had been fighting for 40 years. No support, no reinforcements, just endless war. "Ready to move," one of Hyunwoo's soldiers called. They had all 40 patients on stretchers. His team lifted them with mechanical efficiency and headed for the exit. Minji grabbed her medical bag and followed. Outside, the streets were littered with dead Valdris. Hyunwoo's team had cleared the entire route in minutes. Bodies lay everywhere, killed with brutal efficiency. No wasted shots, no hesitation. In orbit, Admiral Young-ho watched the tactical display. His fleet had destroyed half the Valdris ships already. The rest were trying to retreat. He wouldn't let them. "G1, launch all fighters," he ordered. "Burn them before they can jump to hyperspace. I want every Valdris ship in this system destroyed." "Sir, that's overkill," his second officer said. "They're running, we could just—" "No." Young-ho's voice was iron. "The Valdris don't stop. They don't negotiate. If we let them escape, they'll come back with more ships, more warriors, more death. We end this here. We end this now." The officer nodded and relayed the orders. Young-ho watched as his fighters swarmed the fleeing Valdris ships. His people flew like demons, giving the enemy no chance to escape. It was brutal. It was necessary. A message came in from the surface. Hospital secured, moving patients to the dreadnought. Good, Young-ho said. Bong-su, report. Generators are stable for now, the engineer's voice crackled back. But Captain, I need to see your ships. The technology you're using, the way you've mixed human and alien systems, it's incredible. I've never seen anything like... Later, Young-ho cut him off. Right now I need you to help evacuate civilians. Can you do that? Yes, sir, Bong-su said immediately. He sounded excited despite the danger. Where do you need me? On the ground, Dae-ho watched as more ships landed. They brought soldiers, supplies, and heavy weapons. The mysterious fleet moved with absolute coordination. Every ship had a job. Every soldier knew their task. They cleared districts, rescued civilians, and killed Valdris with cold efficiency. But they weren't celebrating. They weren't smiling. They moved like machines, doing a job they had done countless times before. Save the humans, kill the aliens, move to the next crisis. Dae-ho approached one soldier who was taking a brief rest. The man was drinking water, his helmet off. His face was young, but his eyes were ancient. Burn scars covered half his face. Thank you, Dae-ho said, for coming, for saving us. The soldier looked at him. We heard your call. We always come when we hear the call. Why? Dae-ho asked. Earth abandoned you. We didn't even know you existed. Why help us? The soldier was quiet for a moment. Then he said, because we remember what it's like, screaming for help and hearing nothing. Watching people die because no one cared enough to come. We swore we'd never let that happen to someone else. Even if Earth forgot us, we didn't forget what it means to be human. He put his helmet back on and rejoined his unit. Dae-ho watched him go, feeling something heavy in his chest. These people had every reason to be bitter, every reason to let New Haven burn. But they came anyway. Above them, the last Valdris ship exploded. The sky was clear. The battle was over. But looking at the scarred soldiers around him, at their patched ships and worn weapons, Dae-ho realized something. For them, the battle was never over. This was just one more fight in a war that had lasted 40 years. Tomorrow there would be another distress call, another colony, another desperate fight. They would answer that call too. They always did. Because they were the survivors. And survivors never stopped fighting. Part 3. The Truth of War Doctor. Minji had seen terrible things in the past 3 days. Burns, missing limbs, wounds that made her stomach turn. But nothing prepared her for the medical bay on Admiral Young-ho's dreadnought. The room was massive, filled with beds and equipment. But the equipment was wrong. It was a mix of human and alien technology, welded together in ways that shouldn't work but somehow did. And the patients, the survivors who had rescued them, were even more disturbing. What are those? She asked, pointing to ports installed in a soldier's arm. Metal plugs built directly into the flesh. Stim injectors, the ship's medic said. Her name was Yoonji. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in years. Combat stimulants. Keeps them fighting when their bodies should shut down. Most of our soldiers have them. Minji touched one port carefully. The soldier didn't react. He was asleep, exhausted from the battle. This is barbaric. These cause permanent damage to the nervous system. Yeah, Yoonji agreed. But it keeps them alive. Out here, alive and damaged is better than dead and perfect. Minji moved to another bed. A woman lay there, her right leg replaced from the hip down with a mechanical prosthetic. But it wasn't standard medical technology. It was built from salvaged parts, some human, some alien. Why not use proper prosthetics? Minji asked. Yoonji laughed. It was a bitter sound. Proper? Doctor, we haven't seen a proper medical facility in 30 years. We use what we can scavenge. Sometimes that means Valdris servos and alien power cells. It works well enough. Minji felt sick. These people had been fighting for decades without proper support. No supplies from Earth, no reinforcements. They had survived by taking technology from their enemies and installing it in their own bodies. How many of you are there? She asked quietly. In this fleet? 2,000, Yoonji said. In total? Maybe 50,000 survivors scattered across the frontier. We lost almost 1 million in the Reach Wars. The rest died in the years after. 2,000 people had saved New Haven, 2,000 against the entire Valdris force. And they had won because they had learned to be more brutal than their enemies. Down in the cargo bay, Bongsu was in heaven. The engineer walked between parked fighters, staring at their modifications with wide eyes. The ships were incredible. Human frames with alien engines. Weapon systems from 3 different species. Power cores that mixed fusion reactors with captured Valdris biotechnology. This shouldn't work, he muttered, examining a fighter's engine. The power output should tear the ship apart, but you've routed it through secondary dampeners and used the alien armor to absorb the excess heat. It's genius, it's survival, a voice said behind him. Bongsu turned to see Commander Jiwan. She was checking her fighter, running her hands over patches in the hull. We didn't have a choice. Our equipment broke down. We took what we could from destroyed enemy ships and made it work. Can you teach me? Bongsu asked eagerly. I want to understand how you did this. Jiwan studied him. Why, you're a colonist. An engineer. You should go back to Earth, get a safe job, live a normal life. Earth didn't answer our call, Bongsu said. His voice hardened. You did. I want to help. I want to make sure the next colony has a chance. Jiwan was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Okay, but understand something. This life, it doesn't end well. We don't get to retire. We fight until we die. That's the deal. I understand, Bongsu said. He meant it. Captain Daiho stood on the bridge of the dreadnought, watching Admiral Young-ho command his fleet. The admiral was in his 60s, his hair gray, his face lined with scars. But he moved with the energy of a much younger man, issuing orders with calm precision. Sir? Daiho said hesitantly. Can I ask you something? Go ahead, Young-ho said, not looking away from his displays. Why did you answer our call? Earth left you behind. We're strangers to you. You could have ignored us. Young-ho was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. 40 years ago, we called for help. We were surrounded, dying. We sent message after message. Earth said they couldn't spare the ships. Too expensive. Too far away. We weren't important enough. He finally looked at Daiho. I watched good people die screaming, begging for someone to save them. I swore that if I survived, I would never ignore a call for help. Never. Even if it kills me, even if we lose everything, we answer. Every time, Daiho felt something break inside him. These people had been abandoned, left to die. They should hate Earth. They should hate all the comfortable core worlds that ignored them, but instead they dedicated their lives to saving strangers. I want to stay, Daiho said. I want to help you. My militia training is worthless, I know that now. But I can learn. I can fight, Young-ho studied him. You know what you're asking? This isn't glory. It's not adventure. It's watching friends die. It's making impossible choices. It's fighting until your body breaks and then fighting some more. I know, Daiho said. I saw my people die because we weren't ready. Because we didn't know how to fight. I won't let that happen again. All right, Young-ho said. Report to Sergeant Hyunwoo. He'll start your training. But Daiho? There's no going back. Once you join us, this is your life now. I understand, Daiho said. In the rec room, several of New Haven's survivors sat with Young-ho's soldiers. The contrast was stark. The colonists looked shocked, overwhelmed. The soldiers looked empty, like they had seen too much to feel anything anymore. How do you do it? Private Minseo asked. She was talking to a young soldier named Tae-hyung. He looked barely older than her but moved like a veteran. How do you keep fighting? How do you not give up? Tae-hyung shrugged. You get used to it. The fear, the death, all of it. After a while, it just becomes normal. You stop thinking about it. You just do your job. But don't you want to go home? Don't you want peace? Home doesn't exist anymore, Tae-hyung said. His voice was flat. The worlds we came from are gone, destroyed or abandoned. This ship is home now. These people are family. And peace? He laughed bitterly. Peace is what you get when you're dead. Minseo looked down at her hands. She had killed 3 Valdris in the battle. She could still feel the knife cutting into alien flesh. She thought it would haunt her forever. But looking at these soldiers, she realized they had killed hundreds, thousands, and they kept going. I want to learn, she said. I want to be like you. Tae-hyung looked at her sadly. No, you don't, but I'll teach you anyway. Because the galaxy needs people who are willing to fight. Dr. Minji finished examining another patient and found Admiral Young-ho waiting for her. He looked even more tired up close. The weight of command sat heavy on his shoulders. "Doctor," he said, "I need your help." "Of course," Minji said. "What do you need?" "We're going after the Valdris home base in this sector," Young-Ho said. "Not just driving them off, destroying them completely. That means using weapons that cross certain lines." Minji felt cold. "What kind of weapons?" "Bioweapons. Viruses designed to target Valdris biology. We captured samples years ago. We've been refining them, making them more effective." He looked directly at her. "I need you to help us deploy them. You're a doctor. You understand biology better than our combat medics." "That's genocide," Minji whispered. "That violates every oath I took." "I know," Young-Ho said. "And I'm not going to order you. This is a choice. But you need to understand something. The Valdris don't stop. They don't negotiate. They consume entire worlds. Every colony they attack ends the same way. Everyone dead. We've been fighting them for 15 years. This is the only way to stop them." Minji thought about her patients, the people who had died in her hospital, the children torn apart by Valdris claws, the screaming that never stopped. "If I do this," she said slowly, "I can never go back to being a regular doctor. This will change me." "Yes," Young-Ho agreed. "It will. That's the price of survival out here. We all become something we never wanted to be. But we do it so others don't have to." Minji was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded. "Show me the samples. I'll help you." Young-Ho looked relieved but also sad, like he hated himself for asking. "Thank you, Doctor." "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry," Minji said. "Just make sure their deaths mean something." That night, New Haven's survivors gathered in the cargo bay. Admiral Young-Ho stood before them, his fleet soldiers beside him. "You have a choice," he said. "We can take you to the nearest safe colony. You can rebuild your lives, forget this ever happened. Or you can stay with us, learn to fight, help protect the next colony that calls for help." He paused. "But I won't lie to you. If you stay, you'll see terrible things. You'll do terrible things. You'll lose friends and watch worlds burn. Most of you won't live to see old age. This is a hard life, and it doesn't end well. Why do you do it then?" Someone called out. "Why keep fighting?" Young-Ho smiled sadly. "Because someone has to. Because we remember what it's like to be helpless. Because every person we save is a victory against the darkness." He looked at each of them. "So choose. But choose knowing the truth." Daeho stood up. "I'm staying." Minseo stood next. "Me too," Bangsu rose. "I'm in." Dr. Minji stood slowly. "I'll stay." One by one, survivors stood. Not all of them. Some wanted safety, wanted to forget. That was okay. But enough stood. Enough chose to fight. Young-Ho nodded. "Welcome to the fleet. Your training starts tomorrow. Get some sleep. You'll need it." As the survivors dispersed, Young-Ho stood alone on the bridge. Part 4, the counterstrike. The briefing room was crowded. Admiral Young-Ho stood at the front, a holographic display showing the Valdris base. It was massive. A converted asteroid filled with hive ships and warrior breeding chambers. This was where the attack on New Haven had been launched from. "We're not leaving," Young-Ho said. His voice was calm but absolute. "We're not going to let them regroup and attack another colony. We're going to destroy this base completely." Captain Daeho looked at the display in shock. The base had defensive weapons, dozens of ships, and probably 1 million Valdris warriors. "Sir, that's suicide. We barely have 2,000 people." "I know the odds," Young-Ho said. "I've known worse odds and survived. We're not attacking head-on. We're going to be smart about this." He pointed to different sections of the base. "Jiwan, your fighters will hit their communication arrays first. Blind them. Hyunwoo, your ground teams will infiltrate here and here, planting charges in the breeding chambers. Bongsu, you'll deploy the virus." Dr. Minji stood up. "The bioweapon is ready. It targets Valdris neural tissue. Once released, it will spread through their atmospheric systems within hours. Every Valdris in that base will die." The room was silent. Some of the New Haven survivors looked uncomfortable. They had joined to protect colonies, not to commit genocide. But the veteran soldiers showed no reaction. They had seen too much to be bothered by necessary evils. "What about prisoners?" Daeho asked. "What if some want to surrender?" "The Valdris don't surrender," Sergeant Hyunwoo said. His voice was hard. "And we don't take prisoners. Can't afford to. Can't spare the resources to guard them, feed them, or contain them. In war like this, you kill or you die." Daeho felt sick but nodded. This was the reality of survival warfare. No mercy, no prisoners. Just brutal efficiency. Everyone understand their assignments? Young-ho asked. Heads nodded around the room. Good, we attack in 6 hours. Get some rest. Check your gear. Say goodbye to anyone you need to. The room emptied. Daeho found himself walking with Private Minseo. They had started training with Hyunwoo's team. The first day had been horrible. They learned how to kill quickly, how to move silently, how to ignore pain. The veteran soldiers pushed them hard, not out of cruelty but out of necessity. Every mistake in training was a life saved in combat. You scared? Minseo asked. Terrified, Daeho admitted. You? Same, but I keep thinking about Checkpoint 7. About watching my friends die. If we destroy this base, maybe some other colony won't have to go through that. Maybe, Daeho said. He wished he felt more certain. In the hangar, Commander Ji-won checked her fighter for the 100th time. Every system had to be perfect. One malfunction and she would die. Not that death scared her anymore. She had survived too many impossible battles to fear dying, but she refused to die from something stupid like a faulty power coupling. Commander? Bong-soo approached her. He carried a case containing the virus samples. I finished the deployment mechanism. It will aerosol the virus throughout their base in minutes. Good work, Ji-won said. She saw the guilt on his face. Having second thoughts? I'm about to help kill 1 million living beings, Bong-soo said quietly. How am I supposed to feel? Like a survivor, Ji-won said. The Valdris would do the same to us without hesitation. They've done it to dozens of human worlds. This isn't murder. It's war. When does it end? Bong-soo asked. When do we get to stop? Ji-won was silent for a moment. When we're all dead, or when the galaxy runs out of things trying to kill us. Whichever comes first. She put a hand on his shoulder. I know it's hard, but this is what survival looks like. We don't get clean hands. We just get to live another day. In the medical bay, Dr. Minji prepared her equipment. If the attack went wrong, she would have mass casualties. She had requested help from the ship's medics and got it. Now she waited, checking supplies and trying not to think about the bioweapon she had helped create. Doctor? A voice interrupted her thoughts. It was one of the young soldiers, Taehyung. He held his arm awkwardly. What happened? Minji asked. Training accident. Think I pulled something. He sat down and let her examine the arm. It was just a muscle strain, easily treated. But as Minji worked, she noticed the scars covering his body. Burns, cuts, and what looked like chemical damage. How old are you? She asked. 23, Taehyung said. You look 40. He laughed without humor. Yeah, war ages you fast. I've been fighting since I was 14. My parents were colonists on a frontier world. The Valdris hit us. Everyone died except the kids who could hold weapons. Admiral Young-ho found us and took us in. That's horrible, Minji said. She finished wrapping his arm. That's normal, Taehyung corrected. Half the people on this ship have similar stories. We're all orphans of dead colonies. The Admiral gives us purpose, a family, a reason to keep going. Minji looked at him with new understanding. These soldiers weren't just fighting for humanity. They were fighting because fighting was all they had left. Their homes were gone. Their families were dead. The fleet was their entire world now. Thank you, Taehyung said, standing. For staying. For helping. Most doctors would have run back to the core worlds. I took an oath, Minji said. To help people. Out here that means doing terrible things so others can live. I'm still figuring out how to live with that. Welcome to the club, Taehyung said. He left, heading back to prepare for the mission. 6 hours later, the fleet moved into position. Young-ho sat in his command chair, watching the tactical display. His ships spread out in attack formation. They were outnumbered 5-1. The Valdris base had more weapons, more ships, more everything. But Young-ho had something the Valdris didn't. Experience. 40 years of fighting had taught him how to win against impossible odds. You didn't fight fair. You didn't give the enemy time to react. You hit them with everything you had and didn't stop until they were all dead. Ji-won, launch fighters, he ordered. All wings. Target their communication arrays. The fighters streamed from the dreadnought's hangar. They moved in perfect formation, modified engines pushing them faster than standard human craft could manage. The Valdris detected them and scrambled defensive ships, but Ji-won's pilots were better. They had been flying and fighting for years. They knew every trick, every maneuver. Communications down, Ji-won reported. The base is blind. Hyunwoo, you're up, Young-ho said. Get in there and plant those charges. Down on the base, transport ships slipped past the confused defenders. Hyunwoo led his teams out, moving through the asteroid's tunnels with practiced efficiency. Daeho and Minseo were with him, carrying explosive charges. Their hands shook, but they kept moving. The tunnels were organic, grown by the Valdris rather than built. The walls pulsed with a sickly light. The air smelled like rot. They passed breeding chambers where young Valdris warriors grew in pods. Daeho wanted to look away but forced himself to watch. This was what they were destroying. Future soldiers who would attack future colonies. Plant charges here, Hyunwoo ordered. His team moved quickly, setting explosives throughout the chamber. Timer set for 30 minutes. That gives us time to get clear. They moved deeper. More chambers. More charges. Daeho lost count of how many they planted. Thousands of pounds of explosives, all timed to go off simultaneously. It would collapse the entire asteroid. Then alarms started blaring. The Valdris knew they were there. Move! Hyunwoo shouted. Warriors poured from side tunnels, mandibles clicking, claws extended. The team opened fire, their weapons cutting down the aliens in brutal efficiency, but more kept coming. Daeho fired his rifle until it overheated. He dropped it and drew his knife. A Valdris lunged at him. He sidestepped and drove the blade into its brain. Just like Hyunwoo had taught him. The creature fell. Another took its place. He killed that one too. Beside him, Minseo fought like a demon. All the fear and trauma of Checkpoint 7 came out as rage. She killed without mercy, without hesitation. She had become exactly what this war needed her to be. Charges planted. Someone shouted. Fall back, they ran. Behind them, Valdris warriors gave chase. Hyunwoo's team set up a rear guard, laying down covering fire. Some stayed behind to ensure the others escaped, knowing they wouldn't make it out themselves. Leave us, one soldier shouted. Complete the mission! Hyunwoo hesitated only a second. Then he nodded and kept moving. That was the nature of this war. You sacrificed who you had to. You saved who you could. You didn't look back. They reached the transport ships and lifted off just as the Valdris closed in. Above them, Jiwon's fighters provided cover, keeping enemy ships off their backs. Bongsu, deploy the virus, Young-ho ordered. Bongsu's hands shook as he activated the deployment system. The case opened. Aerosol sprayers released the bioweapon into the base's atmospheric processors. Within minutes, it would reach every chamber, every tunnel, every living Valdris. It's done, he said quietly. He felt like he had become a monster. Maybe he had. All ships pull back, Young-ho commanded. Get to minimum safe distance. The fleet retreated. On the asteroid base, the Valdris began to die. The virus worked fast, shutting down their nervous systems. They fell by the thousands, by the hundreds of thousands. It was efficient. It was painless. It was genocide. The charges exploded 30 minutes later. The asteroid broke apart, pieces tumbling through space. Fire bloomed in the vacuum. Part 5. The Burden of Survivors. The memorial service was held in the cargo bay. 30 empty chairs sat in neat rows, representing those who died destroying the Valdris base. Admiral Young-ho stood before them reading names. Each name was followed by silence. No speeches. No grand words. Just acknowledgement that these people existed, fought, and died. Captain Daeho attended his first memorial. He had known some of those who died. Not well, but enough. They had trained together, eaten together. Now they were gone. He expected to feel crushing grief. Instead, he felt numb, empty, like something inside him had died on that asteroid. Is it always like this? He asked Sergeant Hyunwoo afterward. Yes, Hyunwoo said. You'll get used to it. The numbness. It's your mind protecting itself. If you felt the full weight of every death, you'd break. So you shut it off. You keep moving. You do the job. That sounds horrible. It is, Hyunwoo agreed. But it keeps you alive. In the medical bay, Dr. Minji treated the wounded from the raid. Most injuries were minor. Burns, cuts, broken bones. But one soldier had taken a Valdris claw through the chest. She worked for 3 hours to save him, using every skill she had. He lived, but barely. Will he fight again? Commander Jiwon asked. She stood in the doorway watching. No, Minji said. His lung is destroyed. Even with the best care, he'll never be combat ready. Then what happens to him? Minji looked up, confused. He recovers. He gets assigned to non-combat duties. Engineering, logistics, something like that. Jiwon shook her head. We don't have non-combat duties. Everyone fights. That's how we survive. If you can't fight, you're a burden. So what, you just throw him out? Minji's voice rose with anger. After everything he's done, we take him to the nearest safe colony, Jiwan said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. Give him enough money to start over. Then we leave. That's heartless. That's survival, Jiwan corrected. We can't afford passengers. Every person on these ships needs to contribute. Food is limited, space is limited, medicine is limited. Hard choices have to be made. Minji wanted to argue but couldn't. This was the reality of the fleet. Everything was about survival. Personal feelings didn't matter. Only the mission mattered. Keep fighting. Keep answering calls. Keep moving. Bongsu stood in the engineering bay surrounded by salvaged technology. He was building something new, a weapon system that mixed human railguns with Valdris biotechnology. It shouldn't work. The biological components should reject the mechanical parts, but he was making it work anyway, forcing incompatible systems to function through sheer stubbornness. You're good at this, a voice said. Admiral Young-ho walked through the bay inspecting the work. Natural talent. Thank you, sir, Bongsu said. He felt proud, then immediately guilty. He was proud of building weapons. Weapons that would kill. When had he become this person? I know what you're thinking, Young-ho said. You're wondering who you've become. Whether you're still a good person. Bongsu nodded silently. Let me tell you something, Young-ho continued. Good and evil aren't useful concepts out here. There's just survival. You do what you must to live another day to save another colony. The galaxy doesn't care about your morality. It just cares whether you're strong enough to endure. Do you ever regret it? Bongsu asked. The things you've done? The choices you've made? Young-ho was quiet for a long moment. Every day. Every single day. But regret doesn't change anything. It doesn't bring back the dead. It doesn't undo our choices. So I carry it. We all carry it. That's the burden of survivors. 3 days later, the fleet approached the colony that had sent the distress call. But they were too late. The raiders had already left. The colony was destroyed. Buildings burned. Bodies lay in the streets. 5,000 people dead. Daiho walked through the ruins with Hyunwoo's team. They searched for survivors but found none. Just death. Just silence. He wanted to scream, to rage against the unfairness of it all. But the numbness had settled in deeper. He just felt tired. We were close, Private Minseo said. Her voice was hollow. Just 3 days late. 3 days might as well be 3 years, Hyunwoo said. He knelt beside a body, a young woman clutching a child. Out here, help either arrives in time or it doesn't arrive at all. They left markers. Small monuments to show that someone remembered. That these people mattered. Then they returned to the ships. There was nothing else to do. The dead were dead. The fleet had to keep moving. That night, Admiral Young-ho called a meeting. The New Haven survivors gathered in the briefing room. 3 weeks had passed since the rescue. They had seen 2 battles, 1 victory and 1 failure. Some looked hardened. Others looked broken. I told you when you joined that you could leave any time, Young-ho said. That offer still stands. We're passing near a safe colony tomorrow. Anyone who wants out can leave. No judgment. No shame. No one moved. Not at first. Then one person stood, then another. 5 people in total, all from New Haven's original survivors. They couldn't take it anymore. The violence, the death, the moral compromises. They wanted peace. I understand, Young-ho said. Transport will take you tomorrow. I hope you find what you're looking for. The 5 left. The room felt emptier, but most remained. Daeho stayed. Minseo stayed. Bongsu stayed. Minji stayed. They had chosen this life and they would see it through. After the meeting, Daeho found himself on the observation deck. Commander Jiwan was there, staring out at the stars. Her face was reflected in the glass, and for once he saw emotion there. Sadness, exhaustion, pain. Do you ever think about stopping? He asked. About finding a quiet world and just resting? All the time, Jiwan admitted. I'm tired, Daeho, so tired. I've been fighting for 20 years. I've lost everyone I started with. My friends, my family, everyone. Then why keep going? Because if I stop, who answers the calls? She looked at him. Someone has to be the shield. Someone has to stand between the colonies and the darkness. If not us, then who? Daeho had no answer. He just stood beside her, sharing the silence. The next day, they dropped off those who wanted to leave. The transport descended to the safe colony, and 5 people walked away from the fleet forever. Daeho watched them go and felt nothing. No envy, no judgment. Just acceptance. Think they'll be happy? Minseo asked. Maybe, Daeho said. But they'll always wonder. Every time they hear about a colony under attack, they'll wonder if they could have made a difference. That's the burden of walking away. You're safe, but you're haunted. And what's our burden? We get to live with what we've done. What we'll do? The people we couldn't save. The monsters we became to survive. He looked at her. But at least we can look ourselves in the mirror. We answered the call. In her private quarters, Dr. Minji recorded a message. It was addressed to Earth, to the medical academy where she trained. She talked about what she had seen, what she had done, the bioweapon, the casualties, the impossible choices. I'm not the person who left for New Haven, she said to the recorder. I've broken every oath I took. I've helped create weapons. I've let people die because we didn't have resources to save them. I've become something I never wanted to be. She paused. But I'd do it again. Because out here, perfect morality gets you killed. Out here, you have to be willing to get blood on your hands. Otherwise, everyone dies. I understand now why Earth abandoned the Reach. War is expensive. Morality is expensive. It's easier to just let the frontier handle itself. She stopped the recording. She wouldn't send it. Earth didn't care. They had made that clear 40 years ago. This message was just for her, a reminder of who she was before, and who she had become. Admiral Young-ho sat in his command chair reading reports. Another distress call had come in. A mining station under attack. They were 4 days away at maximum speed. It would be close. They might make it in time. They might not. Set course, he ordered. All ships, maximum burn. The fleet moved. It always moved. There was no rest, no peace. Just an endless cycle of battles and desperate rescues. This was their life now. This was their purpose. Young-ho thought about the early days of the Reach Wars. He had been young then, full of idealism. He believed in humanity's destiny among the stars. He believed Earth would support them no matter what. That man was dead. Killed by betrayal in countless battles. The person who remained was harder, colder, capable of terrible things, but also capable of saving lives, of giving hope to those who had none. Sir, message from the mining station, his communications officer said. They're thanking us for coming. They said they knew no one would answer their call. They had given up hope. Tell them we're coming, Young-ho said. Tell them to hold on. We never ignore a call for help. He stood and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, people were dying. Somewhere, colonists were screaming for help. And somewhere, Earth and the Galactic Council were ignoring those screams because it was inconvenient to care. But his fleet heard. His people answered. They were broken. They were scarred. They were the survivors of 1,000 wars. And they were all that stood between the frontier colonies and annihilation. All hands battle stations, Young-ho ordered. 4 days until we reach the mining station. 4 days to prepare. Use them well. The ship hummed with activity. Soldiers checked weapons. Engineers tuned systems. Pilots prepared fighters. Everyone knew their role. Everyone accepted the danger.